RuneScape is a game built around the player killing monsters and picking up their dropped loot. Drops range from a few coins all the way up to the most powerful weapons in the game. I wondered, what if you couldn't pick up anything? How much of the game could you unlock? How many of the quests are even possible? I'm going to find out. This account is restricted to only using items purchased with currencies. No dropped loot, no world spawns. This is Shop Locked. Last episode we ended with finishing off the Restless Ghost and discussing the first goal of the account, completing Dragonslayer 1. To start off this video, I wanted to talk about what my equipment goals are. With the completion of Dragonslayer 1, we will be able to purchase and wear rune plate bodies, which will be our best melee defense armor for a while. With our lack of being able to easily level up prayer, we will need all the defense values we can get. So you might be thinking, oh, once he buys full rune then that's it, he's got his best armor he can buy. But what if I told you there were 2 other armor sets out there that I'm aiming to get? I won't reveal them just yet, but both of these sets should be more than enough to carry us through any difficult combat encounters. Now, what about weapons? At the moment, our best weapons are just purchasing the highest level scimitar we can use. Eventually, there will be some better weapons that we can obtain, but I will go into more detail of those later. Okay, let's start off with the Witch's Potion. We head over to Rimington to chat to Hetty the Witch. Hetty needs 4 ingredients to help her make a potion. Burnt meat, an eye of newt, an onion, and a rat's tail. The first 3 items we can purchase. The rat's tail is a quest item, so we are allowed to pick it up. We head over to Port Sarim to buy the eye of newt. Next, we look at where we can buy the onion. Now, the onion is sold at quite a few shops. The easiest one for us to get to is the Grand Tree, but I noticed there's a grocery shop in Varlamore that not only sells the onion, but some raw meat that we can burn to create our burnt meat. So I decided to do Children of the Sun. This quest unlocks access to Varlamore. We head to Varric to talk to Alina, which leads us to stalk a man, rat at his friends, which completes the quest, and we fly off into the sunset. And now we're in Varlamore. Unlocking Varlamore now gives us access to an incredible range of shops. Since we're only here to look at the grocery store, I won't go into detail of the other shops just yet, but next time we return, I will spend some time to look around. I run over to the grocery store, buy the onion and some raw meat, and fly back to Varric. I use a nearby range to cook and burn my meat. I head back to Hetty, who says we need a rat's tail. I kill a local rat, take its tail, hand in the ingredients to Hetty, take a sip from the cauldron, which completes the Witch's Potion. For that we get 1 quest point and 325 magic XP, which takes us to level 4. I wanted to quickly interrupt the video to thank everyone for the reception to episode 1. I honestly thought I'd be lucky if it got 100 views, so seeing where it's at now is really amazing. I also wanted to shout out those who left a comment. It's great to see all your feedback, it really helps the future videos. There were a couple of comments that suggested a slight change to some of the rules which I wanted to talk about. The first is about my ruling of not being allowed to harvest anything I plant from purchased seeds. I will be changing this rule to allow it. In hindsight, it didn't really fit in with the rules where I can use anything I purchase. This also opens up the possibility of getting logs from trees I plant. The other was a suggestion about what to do with items acquired through skilling. They suggested I should be allowed to sell anything I gather, so logs, fish, and ore, which I agree with. This gives me alternate methods of making some money, and also makes skilling more useful outside of just quest requirements. With that out of the way, let's get back to it. If you've been enjoying the video so far, please leave a like and consider subscribing. Up next, I decide to start Client of Kourend. To start the quest, we need to talk to Veos in Port Piscarius. As you can see, the quest helper says we can travel there by talking to Veos in Port Sarim. I decide to make things more difficult for myself by forgetting how to read and head to Port Sarim to try to buy a charter ship to Veos. I then realise the quest helper says we can talk to Veos to travel there, yet I somehow misread Port Sarim as Rimington and head back over to the Rimington docks. After realising my mistake, I head back to Port Sarim, chat to Veos to travel to Port Piscarius, and finally start Client of Kourend. Veos needs our help to gain information about Kourend for a client of his. He asks us to chat to the general store owners in each of the major cities of Kourend. All we need are an enchanted scroll and quill. Veos gives us the scroll, we just need to buy a feather and use it on the scroll to create the enchanted quill. Lucky for us, there's a fishing shop just north of the port that sells feathers. Well, we head back to Port Sarim and buy some feathers from the fishing shop. We use the feather on the scroll to get the quill and head back to Kourend. We then start our journey around Kourend, talking to each general shop owner, starting in Arceus, Lovacane, Shazian, and lastly Hesidius. We return to Veos with the information gathered. He then asks us to take a mysterious orb and activate it near the Dark Altar north of Arceus. The orb shatters once activated, and a mysterious voice tells us to return to Veos. It turns out Veos has been possessed this whole time by his client, and he rewards us with the completion of the quest. We get 1 quest point, the Kourend Castle teleport spell, Kourend's memoirs, which we drop, and 2 antique lamps, which provide 500 experience each to any skill. After much deliberation, I decide to put both lamps into fire making. Certain fire making levels are required to start some quests, and without access to logs, fire making becomes impossible to level outside of using lamps. With the change to the rules, I'll eventually be able to get logs by cutting down the trees I plant with purchased seeds, but as that'll be a very slow process, I decide to get a head start on leveling fire making. Next, I start the Pandemonium quest. All we need is a saw and hammer. We already have a hammer, and from memory, we can buy a saw from the shipyard once we get to Pandemonium. I chat to Will and Anne in Port Sarim, who need help with their new salvaging business. We hop on their boat, follow our map to the wreckage, and use the salvaging hook to pick up a mysterious medal and an old cup. Will and Anne then combo me by taking the medallion and pushing me into the water. I wake up on the Pandemonium docks and chat to Squawking Steve Beanie, who tells us Will and Anne stole the map from Ribs. Chatting to Ribs, he explains that a curse has been unleashed now that the medallion has been taken, and we'll need our own boat to track them down. We head into the shipyard portal, and memory be damned, the saws are in a crate. So we teleport to Lumbridge and run up to the Varric sawmill and buy a saw. On the way back to Port Sarim, I stop in Draenor Village and decide it's time to buy the Chronicle. The Chronicle is a book that can be used to teleport the player just outside the Champions Guild south of Varrock. The book costs 300 GP and it needs teleport cards to charge it. Each card is 1 teleport and costs 150 GP. So I spend quite a while pickpocketing to get just enough money to buy the book and 1 teleport. Mid-pickpocket, I realise I haven't dropped the memoirs, so I do that. I head back to Pandemonium, enter the shipyard, and build the cargo hold on my ship. Junior Jim then asks us to sail our boat to Port Sarim and pick up his cargo. Just before we grab the cargo, I suddenly realise we might not be allowed to pick this up. Since cargo is an item you can acquire as just a normal task for sailing XP, I'm not sure if this is allowed. So, please let me know in the comments if you think I should be able to use cargo tasks or not. For now, I skip the Pandemonium quest. Hopefully, we'll return to this later. Next, I look into doing the Romeo and Juliet quest. Looking at the requirements for the quest, there is only 1 item needed: cadaver berries. This is a problem. Cadaver berries can only be gained from picking them from a bush, either the wild bushes south of Varrock or bushes planted by the player. And unfortunately for us, there is no way to purchase the seeds. This locks us out of the Romeo and Juliet quest. Next, I decide to tackle Gertrude's cat, which if we complete it will give us a kitten. Having a companion with me on this journey would make these blocked quests much easier to handle. Looking at the requirement that Quest Helper shows, all I need is a bucket of milk, 100 coins, and a raw sardine. From our research when trying Cook's Assistant, we know we can get the bucket of milk from the Grand Tree. Since we need to make our way through Ardoyne to get to the Grand Tree, I decide to also pick up the 20 balls of wool needed for the Sheep Shearer's quest. Turns out we don't have enough money to take the boat, so I pickpocket it until we have no food left. This should hopefully be enough to pay for the trip and all the items. Once I arrive in Ardy, I spend some more time training thieving on the baker's stall. While I'm thieving, let's take a look at what the stalls in Ardy sell. There's the baker stall, the gem stall, the silver stall, the silk merchant who buys silk off us, the spice stall, and the fur stall. After getting a couple of thieving levels, I make room in my inventory and head to the general store to buy the wool. We make our way into the Grand Tree and chat to Hudo to buy our milk. Hudo has a great supply of items, so I'm sure we'll be back soon. On our way back to Gertrude, we stop in Witch Haven, just east of Ardy, to buy the raw sardine. With all our items ready for 2 quests, we teleport to Lumbridge, give the balls of wool to Farmer Fred, and complete Sheep Shearer. This gives us 1 quest point, 150 crafting XP, and 60 coins. Next, we head up to Gertrude, who's just west of Varrock, to start her quest. Gertrude, I'm here for a cat. All she needs is a raw sardine and Dougal leaves. No! The Dougal leaves, I didn't look into it. No! Oh, damn it. As you can tell, I really wanted the cat. This is what happens when you don't do enough research. But yes, sadly, there is no way to purchase Dougal leaves. They only spawn on the ground. So with that, Gertrude's cat is blocked. And my hunt for a companion continues. So how come I didn't realize I needed Dougal leaves sooner? Well, since I'm using the Quest Helper plugin to speed things up, I mainly look at what it lists as required items when first starting a quest. What I now realize is that Quest Helper doesn't show all required items. If you get given one during the quest, it won't be listed. Or if you can pick it up during the quest, it also won't list them. Which just means I'll need to do some extra research for each quest before I start, but I'm sure I'll stumble into some more random requirements soon. Next, we start Rune Mysteries. I quickly check the wiki for any item requirements, and it shows none. To start, we head to Lumbridge and chat to Duke Horatio, who mentioned he found a strange talisman and wants us to show it to the Archmage at the Wizard's Tower to learn more about its origin. And, just our luck, it turns out the strange talisman is an air talisman, one that isn't a quest unique. So I spend some time doing some research while I run to the Wizard's Tower in hopes that this quest only works with the one given to you and not just any air talisman. Turns out, if you drop the talisman given to you and then either buy or pick up a different one, the newly acquired talisman still counts for the quest, meaning we can't use it. Now there is a way to purchase an air talisman from the Guardians of the Rift minigame shop, but to gain access to the minigame, you have to finish the Temple of the Eye quest, which requires Rune Mysteries to be completed. It's another Cook's Assistant and the Egg situation. So that means Rune Mysteries is locked. And that's where we'll stop episode 2. We ran into quite a few walls this time, but that just excites me more to see what else is or isn't possible with these rules. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Sunday for episode 3.